Mr. Minnick showing students how to create a really good advanced drawing project in computer science games and apps at Wyomissing Area High School. And that's in Pennsylvania, by the way. When we run this current version of the demo program, we see a bunch of squares, a bunch of, one star and a spiral. Now, you can do that too if you understand how to upgrade this code. So in the program, I will point out that under my works cited area, I am showing that according to the Fair Use Act, I am allowed to use Michael hexadecimal 2A blog turtle examples idea, and no longer is that in there, so Justin doesn't get any works cited there. Okay, here's the whole point of this demo program. It uses these things called functions, and that's good style in code. It wasn't in the 1950s, but now, ever since I'd say the 1970s, we have these things called functions or procedures. And look at this. In the main program area, we have these words that are really function names. Draw square, draw star. In other words, it sounds logical, but it wouldn't work unless we actually have up above somewhere. It's got to be up above and not down below. We have to have a DEF, a defined function for draw square. So this call statement, where, by the way, you need empty parentheses, otherwise it won't work, it must match up with DEF draw square. And because this is Python, the code that's inside of DEF draw square, the function in other words, it must be indented. So this is the point where when you open up the hood of the car, you might not know how the engine works, but at least you know the engine is there. So the function is there. I'm going to shrink it up because I see that it's there. I just know that it works. You can do it. You can move the pen to another location on the screen. We'll say 0, 0, and then do draw square call. It's called calling a function. I can call draw square a second time, and when I run this, there will be a new square that wasn't there before at the position 0, 0. But if I take away that move pen 0, 0 draw square, bye-bye, and I run the program again, the square is not there. That black one's not there. It's the beauty of getting inside a modern day car, turning the key, pushing on a pedal, and just knowing it works. So some of you will never know how these functions work inside, but you'll know how to call them, in other words, how to type their name, and put these parentheses in there. That would be a good level of job to have out in the real world, using functions that other people wrote. But then I'd say the other half of this 9th grade class might be the kind of person, Garvin, who likes to write the code inside the function. So your job is to create functions, whereas other people, they call the functions. And of course, there are people that are good on both offense and defense. They can do both. Good for you. But you know what? One or the other is fine. You can get a job that probably eventually makes 6 figures, which is actually more than I make as a teacher. If you, after say 10 or 15 years, continue to learn about functions and call statements. Okay, let's trace this a little bit more thoroughly. It all starts down here in the main program, because these functions don't call themselves. When they're in the DEF area, they just sit there waiting to be called. So right here, I'm calling change pen to random color. Now this would be a bad name for a function, CPTRC. Don't go saying to me, oh, obviously that means change pen to random color. No, I'm your teacher. I need explanation. I'm your coworker. I'm your parent. I'm your future spouse. Like, people don't know your system of abbreviations. That's in your brain. That's not like in my brain. So I like names that are self-explanatory. You don't say like, may I go to the restroom at an inappropriate time to the restroom. That's overboard. That is inappropriate. Keep it long and explanatory, but not too long. You know what I'm saying? So let's go see what change to pen to random color actually does under the hood. Ready? This is me lifting the hood of the car. Here I am at Pep Boys. I change the spark plug in the parking lot of Pep Boys by saying 1-to-1 here. Now, I just know how this works. This is going to take all the red out of. There will be no red in any of my colors. I only get green and blue. In other words, it's going to be some shade of purple now throughout all of these changed pen to random colors. It's all going to be a shade of purple when I run this next. Let's test my theory. Here goes. Ready? Run. Now everything's a mix of red and green, red and blue, at least the spots where I changed pen to random color. Now I don't expect everybody to understand random int 1 to 55. That's in my notes, but I never taught it this school year yet. Some go-getters read my notes and know that all colors on a computer screen are a mix of red, green, and blue. And that red, green, and blue, RGB, are the famous colors used on electronic displays, TV sets, etc. And the highest amount of redness that you're allowed to use is 255, and same for green and blue. I'm not going to get into that right now in this class. Just know that it works. Okay, back to the main program. I want to keep this short, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. Draw a square. Well, you know how that works because I did already teach you or remind you that squares have 90-degree angles. And when you make a left turn as a soldier out there at boot camp and you click your heels or whatever and march forward 20 pixels, then you turn left and you do it 4 times, you've marched right back to where you started. Oh, by the way, side length. That's a good use of a constant, which it's part of this assignment to use at least 3 constants. This would not be full credit for an A here or even a B if you only have 1 constant. Good luck with that. Come up with ideas for other constants. So this draws a square. Just trust that it works. Let's look at some other functions. Draw many squares. Now that's a complicated one because look, there's a number in the parentheses, unlike draw star and draw square that did not have a number in the parentheses. That 3 is called a parameter. It goes up to the DEF function called draw many squares. In that function, we have a number, a variable name, a parameter name. We did not in draw square. See how it was empty parentheses? Num is now 3. Tommy knows that num is equal to 3 because in the call statement, it was a 3. But if it's a 30, well, then it's 30. And at that point, num is 30. Watch, when I run this, instead of getting 3 blue squares, it's going to be 30. Look at that. It's like chicken pox. It's an outbreak. It reminds me of when I had chicken pox like 40 years ago. I had spots all over my face. I couldn't go to school. Anyway, back to this. 3. I'm changing it back to 3. Okay, one more that I want to go over before I call a wrap on this YouTube. Move pen. I'm not going to explain draw a spiral. That's like hard geometry that you might not have had in school. You can look into that on your own time. Move pen. Move pen takes an X and a Y, but it also does pen up and pen down so that we don't get those stray lines. So if you just did pen.goto, that's weak because then that leaves like a traced line all over the place. So what I did was I made a function called move pen. Here it is. I'll pop the hood and show you. And I just simply do a pen up, then a go to, then a pen down. So it's convenient. Move pen is convenient. And now I can use move pen anywhere else in this program. But here's a problem. In draw star, no, it was draw square. No, it was draw many squares. In draw many squares, I use move pen. That means move pen has to be typed out above this draw many squares. If they're in the wrong order, you get error messages. So you can only use a function, df, that you had typed out upstream, higher up in your code. Get the order correct and make sure you have your indentation correct too. Now some people, as I call this a wrap, some people like say Josh, they like to put their windows up so people can see in the house. Other people, like say Brianna, they like to put the windows down. window blinds down so people can't see it. I don't care how you work at your desk, but when I grade your code, I often don't look at your functions. I just kind of grade your main program, and only if there's a glitch or an error, I then go up there and look to see what the error is. So work however you want to. Keep things explained with nice comments right above the DF. That's always nice style. And always put blank lines around your functions, as well as other places like up here. We've talked about other spots having white space. Okay, like I said, I'm not going to go over draw spiral. That's too complicated for this video. And pen update, which goes hand in hand with this thing called pen tracer, it makes your code just work really instantly fast. Otherwise, it takes forever to watch your turtle sometimes move around. So you might want to, on this assignment, throw in pen.tracer up in the setup screen area. And you might want to then do pen update as the last line of code so it all works instantaneously. Okay, have a good day. This is a wrap on this YouTube video on the Advanced Drawing Project.